Now, ASUS has danced around a lot with the idea of making a dual screen laptop, but at CES 2024, they're taking a huge step forward with this, the brand new Zenbook Duo. Let's check it out. Now, obviously, the big change for this thing is that we're getting dual 14-inch displays. On previous Zenbook Duos, you get a physical keyboard down bottom and then kind of a half display on top. So this really changes pretty much the whole game up for ASUS. And they're not just any screens either. They're really nice screens. We're talking identical 14-inch 3K displays with 120 hertz refresh rate. So really nice, really beautiful, and really good viewing angles too. Now on top of that, if you just look at this whole thing's design, I just love how sleek and integrated it really is. It feels like ASUS has considered pretty much all of the pain points from previous models and some competitors' models and addressed those on the new Zenbook Duo. Let's start with the keyboard. We have this new ErgoSense keyboard, and it works wirelessly over Bluetooth like you'd expect, but there's also little pogo ports down here. So it charges and it just slips right onto the system magnetically. You can see it kind of snaps right into place, and it's pretty sturdy. Now, of course, if I spin this around, that means you can close this thing, and look, there's no gap. And if you look at its thickness, you can see it's really not much thicker than a traditional 14-inch laptop. So really nice to see. Now, if we go around back, there's an integrated kickstand, and it's super easy to use. It just folds right down flush with the bottom, and then when you need to prop it up, like that. Now, one interesting little quirk to this system is that you can see that if we kind of have it up here in its most normal display mode, we have a screen up top and a screen down bottom. Now, you can take the keyboard off and tilt it into more of a side-by-side mode, but you can kind of see you got to tilt it pretty far back to do that. And after talking to some of ASUS product managers, this is an acceptable use case, but it's not really the main intended function. You're looking at more of a top to bottom mode like this, because really when you're doing projects, you want a big project up top, and then you have your extra displays on bottom for Slack, messaging, any sort of extra resources you might want. Now, of course, if you don't want to use the keyboard at all, that's totally cool, because if I prop this down a little bit, you can do 3 fingers to summon the keyboard, 3 fingers to get a little touchpad, a virtual touchpad on the keyboard if you want to do that. And then you can go 3 fingers up. Now that you have an absolutely massive touchpad, and then you have your traditional virtual keyboard on top. And there's even some more functions that you can go up here to ASUS's Screen Expert app, and you can summon, hey, you want to see the control panel? Got to bring that back down. So you can adjust system volume, there's a little mute button. So really nice handy controls all on that virtual screen. And you can do stuff like, there's a handwriting mode, and I can drag this, and look, there's a handy little navigation bar for dragging windows exactly where you want it. So I want to put it in the top right corner on the bottom screen, super easy. The other thing that's really impressive is that on previous versions of systems like this, you would often get reduced specs or kind of slower specs to meet the crazy design. But on the Zenbook Duo, that's not the case. We're talking new 14th gen Intel Core 7 or Core 9 CPUs, up to 32 gigs of RAM, a 75 watt-hour battery, and an absolute ton of ports, which is really crazy to see, because usually ports are the first thing that gets axed on systems that are kind of approaching what a lot of people think as concept devices. So if I pull this down here and kind of fold the kickstand down, we can see right here, we get a full-size HDMI. That's something that you rarely find on just any average 14-inch laptop. 3.5mm jack for audio, super nice. And then over here, we get both USB Type-A and USB Type-C with Thunderbolt 4 support. So you got pretty much everything you could want on a 14-inch system, plus that bonus display, which when paired with the keyboard, it just gives you so much room to work with. You have physical keyboard on bottom, virtual keyboards for extra apps, and then something on top as your big project. So even more than the YogaBook 9i that we checked out last year, this thing is packing a ton of versatility into a really sleek and really well-designed package. And as someone who's been looking forward to how dual screen laptops are going to evolve, this thing is obviously the most interesting, but it also might be the most practical system we've seen so far in this category. Now, of course, there's one other just jaw-dropping thing about this machine, and that's the price. Because this thing is going to start at $1,500. That's way less than anything that's come before it. And that means it's actually kind of affordable. You're not gonna have to mortgage your house or skip a rent payment just to get your hands on this thing. And that makes it so much more accessible to the public at large. And a lot of people talk about, hey, these things are just niche devices. They're for nut jobs like me or other just hardcore geeks out there. But ASUS has said they've already sold over 1 million units of previous Zenbook Duo machines and the Zenbook Fold. So while this market is still kind of small, it's definitely growing. And with systems like this, I expect that increase to jump up a lot in the near future. Now, of course, the new Zenbook Duo isn't the only new system ASUS has on show at CES 2024. There's updated VivoBooks, there's refreshed Zenbooks, and a whole bunch more, including what ASUS is calling probably their most powerful Chromebook yet. So for more details on all of that, make sure to check out Engadget.com. And for more videos about CES, keep it tuned here on YouTube to Engadget for more news and hands-ons.